Welcome back to the Anachroschism. We left off on quite the cliffhanger last time. In Sheepstop Hollow, with a mysterious necklace that is a near carbon copy of another mysterious necklace. And Tessian was like, you know what this outfit needs? A necklace.
Mm-hmm.
And he put it on.
His head's going to explode, but he's still going to be alive.
Right.
He's going to be a
That
headless
works.
demon.
Oh, just how do I look? How do I look?
It's an improvement, actually. I don't know if Thea's going to be a big fan, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
No.
So, having kind of discussed what you would want to do with the necklace, how much of a danger it was, what the plan for it could be.
I'd like to stress how much of a danger it was. This is fine.
Not a big deal. No problema.
It only exploded because it had been in a box for too long or something. You know, what's the worst that could happen by putting it
Yeah.
on?
In somewhat necrotic energy. I mean, it's fine. So, having kind of had the conversation about it, Tessian asks for Grail to hand it over. After kind of a moment's hesitation, she does.
So this is Grail's fault.
Yes, that's correct.
Yes, it is. I lean forward. Yes, actually, I take full responsibility for this.
Yeah, that's
Why
me.
you-
Yes.
Such an enabler.
She hands it to him. He gives kind of one last knowing look to Lena, and then slips the necklace over his head. From the outside looking in, nothing seems to happen. There's this moment where he puts the necklace on and his hands kind of go to his sides afterwards as he kind of braces for what's coming next, and he seems fine. Tessian, the moment you slip that over your head, your impression of everything around you changes drastically.
Okay.
The second that essentially settles around your neck, you are no longer in Sheepstop Hollow. And instead, you start to have what can best be described as this look at like a scene from a television with shitty reception. These are fragmented scenes. There's blurriness and almost like the equivalent of static to them that seems to be interfering with having a clear picture of what you're looking at.
That's scary.
There are times where it's almost as if this is a piece of paper in front of your eyes and it's being moved about and it's like darting about and you're having a hard time tracking with your eyes because all of a sudden you'll be looking at something and it'll shift and it'll move about in a kind of a jagged, disoriented nature. And as you're looking at this, some of this is so scattered as to be impossible to make out. In fact, it gives you somewhat of a headache because you're trying to make sense of this information, but it's too blurry, too disorienting to make sense of. But there are a couple things that leak through. At times, you can pick out these things in pieces, so it's hard to actually describe them in full, but you can see, in a sense, like, at the very least, you can tell what these things are as you're making them out.
Mm-hmm.
There is a point at which you see what appear to be several chromatic dragons flying over a city, and at times even the color of these scenes that you're seeing before you flicker out, and you're almost seeing things in more of a grayscale or a sepia tone. Excuse me. But as you try and puzzle out where this is and catch anything that's familiar, you still recognize it through this haze and this cacophony of everything happening around you and this like swirling nature to it. This is Lycidian they're flying over. A city you've been to enough to recognize, but it's also between how difficult it is to make out what's happening in front of you, it seems different, and the best you can make out is it seems smaller, less developed. But the exterior of the city and its walls and its placement on the coast as you kind of watch these dragons fly by is familiar enough to place it. It's a spot you recognize, but perhaps not as you've known it. you can't even necessarily tell which direction the chromatic dragons are flying or what color they are. Everything happens too quickly to make out a ton of it. And eventually there's this period of time where there's nothing but static. And you start to think, like, has something broken? Am I stuck? But eventually the scene refocuses onto a large, open, flat land with almost no distinguishing features whatsoever. Dirt on the ground, no signs of plant life or any other vegetation as far as the eye can see. And as the image, again, kind of flits about, and you almost start to feel like this pulsing in your temple from how off-putting it is, you see smoke. Some of it more densely packed, some of it more thin wisps floating up off the ground, up into the sky. And as things continue to shift in front of you, you can kind of see what appears to be piles of something on the ground. It's too difficult to lock in and focus on exactly what, but some kind of picture has just shown up in Skype. That's good. Remember, kids, things pop up on the screen.
I screen capped something? I'm sorry.
That's fine.
Why you gotta be like that?
I'm sorry.
I actually don't know if that shows up or not. In any case, it showed up for us. It's fine. Everybody on the outside, there's this moment where you're watching keenly, and you're waiting for some kind of reaction. You're expecting it to be a bad one, you know, all things being equal. And other than his hand kind of going up to his head as if it's sort of, at least in some mild pain, there's not a ton of reaction.
Should we take it off? I'm afraid his head will explode if we do. Something horrible. I don't think you're so... Like removing an arrow.
Yes. Maybe we should just try to get his attention?
Well, I've been doing over his eyes, and he hasn't said anything.
So I'm going to just, like, gently... like.
No, don't touch him.
Oh.
What if... I don't know. I'm not a doctor.
I'm not either, but how are we supposed to get him out of this trance?
Grail, what do you
what's
think?
What's happening?
You're magic-y.
I kind of like, I look, I kind of look at Isaac like, but I kind of like look down at my own necklace that I have, and then I look at his, and I actually just reach over and like try and take it off.
Okay. I'll look at one thing real quick.
Roll a d20.
Tessian's head explodes. I was right.
Roll for initiative. Oh, what?
My head explodes.
Oh my god.
I mean,
Both of your
I
heads
do
explode.
feel somewhat responsible for handing it over to him, and then, so it's, yeah.
That's true.
Grail, go ahead and make a Constitution saving throw, please.
Okay. Gotta wait for there it is. I was in Roll20 this time, just,
I don't believe you.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's
Like
fair.
Like
Actually,
excuse.
I'm not in Roll20.
Oh
and I
yeah,
should
I'm
be.
not either.
Oh, I rolled a 5.
Whoops.
You rolled a 2, right?
Well,
3.
yeah.
A 5
3 plus
total.
3.
Yeah.
Great.
It's fine.
As you reach out to touch the necklace, it's strange because this was in your hand before, and yet something about it has changed, and as you grasp it, you feel this pulse of what can only really be described as sickly energy. You take 14 points of necrotic damage,
Okay.
Okay.
and
I'm going to yell out in pain, and also I'm going to shout, "We need to get that off him!" And I'm going to be like, clearly, like, then I'm like, and then I kind of say like, "Don't touch him."
She starts violently vomiting.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
there's that sensation that pulses through that just feels wrong.
Yeah.
Well, he seems to be doing okay. Maybe we let this play out. Clearly, trying to remove it is not the right play.
and I say, it might be affecting his mind, though. Something's not right, and I'm kind of like clearly struggling to explain this.
Oh my god.
Oh no.
It can like, if Tessian tries to like move at all, like if he tries to like take a step forward, does it change anything at all?
It doesn't. In fact, you are not even aware of your own sense of like having a body
Can
whatsoever.
Can he hear us or no? Is he
There's
like
been-
totally?
There's been nothing from any of the sensory options that surround him in the Sheepstop Hollow whatsoever.
We need to.
So could he, when I tried to reach over and like, I must have brushed him or touched him in some way, did he feel that? Nothing?
No.
Okay.
And has it just been have I just been sitting here in this like blank field, basically, this blank whatever?
He's in a fugue
At this point?
state.
Well, now that we've done this, we'll come back to
Okay.
you.
Okay.
This scene just takes in the scope of everything that was around you in this open flatland area where this whatever is happening with this smoke. But before you can really get a sense of what that might be or where it was, it shifts again. This time, a good 10, 15 seconds pass to the point where you again start to wonder, was that it? Is this all? What is even happening? And you, in that span, just feel sort of stuck, trapped in a sense, because you have no ability to control what you see before you. There's no blinking, there's no movement, there's no nothing. You're just sort of a prisoner to this scene that plays before you. It eventually refocuses on a cradle, and the perspective that you're seeing things through eventually reaches out an arm and is rocking that cradle back and forth. It seems like a smooth rocking, but again, as the image just continues to flitter about before you, you can't see inside. There appears to be a baby in it, but as far as what this is, not even the foggiest idea. I need you to make an intelligence saving throw.
Goodness. 14.
As you're watching this scene, the violence of the shaking, the jarring motion before you, seems to be intensifying, sort of as though whatever scene you were watching was in an increasingly violent earthquake, except nothing in the scene is affected by it. It's just your interpretation of it seems to be getting more and more helter-skelter. Headache also intensifying quite a bit to the point now where it's strange because you almost feel this disembodied effect to where you don't have a head. You can't reach up to feel this pain, but you can feel it almost behind your eyeballs, this kind of just sharp migraine-like pain. On the outside, as Grail recoils from the backlash of the pendant, you guys kind of look at her in concern, and when your vision shifts back to Tessian, you can see him now clutching his head with both hands, and his physical form is shimmering
What?
Oh.
Oh no.
and increasing in intensity.
Oh God.
I am going to quickly cast Mage Hand and try and lift it from his neck.
Okay. I'm looking at Mage Hand real quick just to make sure of something. Okay. Your hand's still kind of stinging from the shock of having clutched the brooch of the necklace, trying to remove it the first time. You send out your Mage Hand for the second time today and guide it yourself to try and lift the necklace. And as this spectral hand reaches around the brooch, it is able to clutch it and lift it off of Tessian's head.
Nice.
That's awesome.
And I'm just very focused on making sure that it lifts up and above and in front of us, like kind of in the middle of where we are.
Okay.
I'm ready to catch Tessian if he falls.
And you're just keeping the necklace aloft in the mage hand for now?
Yeah,
that you pulled
I'm
off?
not dropping it for now. I'm holding it in place, like before us.
Okay. Tessian, as these visions get more and more painful, you're still seeing this fleeting, somewhat quaint room with a cradle, but the shaking is getting more and more painful to you as it goes on. And the best way to describe this feeling, especially for someone who hasn't had a lot of similarities to it before, it's kind of like that drop in your gut when you go through a teleportation circle. This intense shaking gets worse and worse, almost as though you're being like rejected from your own body. And then suddenly everything goes black. You guys watch as just a couple seconds after the necklace is removed, Tessian's body just crumples to the ground.
I catch him! I was there for that!
Yes.
He's in my arms.
It's a repeat of God like 10 minutes ago at this point,
I'm slapping his face.
but reversed.
I will be
Gently.
at your side as well, and I'm going to be doing like
You were also
checking.
slapping his face.
Each cheek.
I have a
Putting the
can I
bongos
do
on
like
his
a
face.
healing
drum
check?
circle.
You can do a medicine check, sure.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I'm
maybe.
still very much holding this and fixated on it. I'm not really looking at Tessian right now because it seems like he's being taken care of, but I'm like staring at it, like kind of almost obsessively and somewhat terrified because I felt, that shock.
I'm imagining you holding it with the mage hand, granted, kind of like Salt Bay, like
Yeah.
the very like precariously.
Yeah.
What you got on the check?
14.
This is strange. You have done enough healing that you at least have a basic idea how to make people better in most situations. In this case, Tessian is unresponsive. Breathing, you're able to
okay.
discern that pretty quickly. Pulse, alive, but not responding to the slaps.
Okay.
Where is my mind? Where is my mind?
I'm gonna heal Grail for 14, and I'm gonna try casting Luster Restoration on Tessian.
Hey, thanks.
Lesser restoration.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna have an effect, but you know what? Crash is optimistic.
Karash, you reach down and touch Tessian's unresponsive form. It doesn't rouse him from unconsciousness, but even so, as this sort of healing energy pulses out from your touch, it seems to help. It's difficult to describe how, but you can kind of just see beneath his lidded eyes, you can sort of see where there wasn't before these slight bits of movement. You know how you can sort of blink with your eyes closed? It's kind of like that, to where you're getting more activity from him, but he still is not responding.
What about some of the baubles from the Dragon Queen or whatever her name was? Anything like that can help here.
It's fine. Just knocking things off the mantle.
Did we have anything like that?
Probably not. I just
We have like a tiara of destruction.
we have like a wand and like a other thing.
Yeah. I don't know if we got any potions or I don't remember. I'd have to look.
God, what did we get?
Do we have any potions?
I think you've gotten a couple. Off,
I apparently have the ingredients for one potion.
off the top of my head,
Excellent. Start brewing, and in 4
I
hours.
think you got a couple in Sagara Cove.
Sounds vaguely
The
familiar.
owner of the general goods store there, because you were working with the mayor to get rid of the hags. But that's up to y'all's inventories.
Oh yeah.
I have nothing listed here.
I'm still looking through all my
I'm sure Tessian has a potion.
stuff.
Loot his corpse.
Tessian, where's the potion?
Loot his corpse.
I don't know that that's true. I have. No, we have a filter of love.
Love can bring him
He
back.
just needs to love
The
again.
power of friendship.
Beautiful.
No, we had the circlet of blasting, the mithril chainmail, the cloak of protection, the gloves of missile snaring, and then the wand of magic missile. Those were our items from.
Everybody make a perception check, except Tessian.
Oh,
I see black. I have a new pepper box, but that's not.
that's helpful.
We can shoot you with it, see if that helps.
14.
20 not natural.
Getting there. Getting there.
Getting there.
9. I'm too focused.
I'm also kind of frantic right now.
16.
Lena, Isaac, you're sort of hyper-focused on Tessian at this point. Worried about what's happened here, wondering what to do. Karash, after administering this, the other thing you notice is that he is still... It's vibrating without the feel of it, if that makes sense. His form is shimmering. Even though having placed your hand on him for lesser restoration, you don't feel... It's not like his body isn't shaking, but it looks as though it is. Grail, you also kind of pick up on this as you're watching Karash administer his attempt to help, and even though it doesn't seem to have at least enough of an effect to wake him up, you also notice out of the corner of your eye that your necklace is glowing faintly.
I was about to... Grail, what if we took your necklace and put it on Tessian? If the bad version took him there, wherever that is, maybe yours can bring him back.
Wait, so the one on my neck is?
Yes.
What? That's fucking cool. Okay. So still with the other necklace, like firmly grasped or however, touched in with mage hand, I will take off my necklace and kind of like bestow it upon Tessian.
As you slide your necklace around Tessian's neck, there's this 4 or 5 second pause where nothing seems to happen. But Karash, you in particular have been on top of this. You watch as that vibration effect, at least visually, does seem to slow until eventually it comes to a stop. And after another few seconds pass, Tessian, your vision returns to you. You also kind of gasp for breath. It's as though wherever you were was underwater, but not in some kind of... You barely have any memory of it, but it was almost like a void to which now, as your body gets pushed back into existence, you almost feel like your lungs have to fill up with air again for the first time. And then your breathing returns to normal, but that moment where you come back to consciousness feels as though someone has just stopped you from drowning. And it takes you a moment to catch your bearings.
Oh. Do I see them all? Are they around me?
You
Am I
do
like
see them
looking
all.
up in Isaac's beautiful face? Is that what I... No.
Gave us a bit of a scare there, Tessian.
Tessian kind of like, what happened? What? I saw things. A lot of things. too much, too many things.
Well,
Too.
well, in Tarnation, what did you see? I'm like kind of still baffled.
How do you feel? And I start to like help you up onto my shoulder so we can like walk you to a bed or a couch.
I am helping.
Yeah, Tessian will get up so we can go sit down. Yeah.
Over the course of this, you did take 24 points of necrotic damage, and your maximum HP has been reduced by 10.
Ah,
So I had an
Okay.
idea to put them
Ouch.
both on at once because that's balanced, and I don't want to do that anymore.
Are you sure? I'll
20
heal you for 16, big guy.
Was it 24 points of damage?
I think that's what I said, yeah.
Yeah, that's what he said. I'll heal you
Okay.
for 16. So
I closed the window where I made that roll, but pretty sure, yeah. Okay. So Karash lays on hands, and Dr. Karash helps you feel at least a little bit better. You still do feel sort of out of sorts.
Well, yeah. First of all, how are
you
you?
can't actually heal me all that much because my max HP is now so low that it won't.
Oh, well,
So you can get some
let me
change
know
on
how
your...
much I can.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've
Keep
got
the
this
change
2
on
extra
your lay on
HP
hands.
just floating around. Yeah.
2. Okay. 2 extra lay on hands. Good
There you
to
go.
know. Wow.
Yeah, I'm down to 33 HP. So
uh,
Just in case our caster wasn't enough of a kitten.
It's okay though. Now he has knowledge of eons. He knows how to superpower his attacks. How do you feel, Tessian?
Tessian is he's kind of like rubbing his head and just like, oh, it's almost like he's got heartburn, but it's like necrotic heartburn too, a little bit on his chest, a little bit. He's just like, oh,
Necrotic heartburn. I love it.
it's terrible, to be honest. But he kind of takes a second to steady himself, like he's got to say something, like he's got a dream, and he's got to say it before he forgets it. And he's just like, I saw Lycidian, I think, before our time now, younger, I think, leaner. It wasn't. There were dragons, a host of them, chromatic, flying over the city, towards it. There was a somewhere else, a field. It was empty. It was desolate. There were smoke and piles of something. I couldn't tell it. I don't know if it was the past or the future or the present, but it didn't look good. And then there was a child in a crib. Someone was rocking it, looking after it, but I couldn't see who it was. But he does look at Grail at that. He's like, I don't know. That was it. After that, it all went blank, and I woke up here. Oh, feeling terrible. Oh.
Well, you were shimmering out of existence, so I imagine a headache is probably the best version of things that could have happened.
And he's like, oh, interesting. Interesting. Ooh. I just say I wonder what would have happened if I'd kept it on.
Yeah,
Where would I have ended up?
maybe we can consult the team on future flights of fancy, like putting on cursed necklaces. But I'm not going to tear into a man who almost died. So I suppose, where do we go from here? That thing needs to be addressed. And I point to the still floating necklace in part of the mage hand.
I'm gonna guiltily kind of just say, I'm so sorry, Tessian. I don't know what this is. It has something to do with my family, me. I don't know. I'm sorry.
And Tessian just like, no, no, it's okay. You're.
No, I'm fine.
I think it's clear. The feeling I felt for a second, it was like when we teleport. That the drop in your stomach. I think it's anchored to some place or someone else. I don't think anyone else should wear it. It is possible that it'll displace whoever it's on. I'm glad I'm here, to be sure, but I agree it's a little too dangerous right now. How did you... I still have the necklace on, the other one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Tessian looked at it, he's like, did this bring me back?
Yeah,
Did.
it did. I think you should keep it for now.
And Tessian kind of takes a second to realize what you're implying. He's like, yes, maybe. And he almost is a little worried. He looks down like, oh, like maybe I'm ruined forever now?
At this point, and equally worried, if not, well, maybe not equally to you, but a very worried-looking Millicent comes over and hands you a glass of water, Tessian.
Tessian is like, thank you. Kind of takes it. Yeah, a little...
There you go. In a red solo cup, no less.
Yes. Thank you. And he's like, do you... my apologies. Do you have the crib that you kept Grail in, or yourself? Is there a crib that's been in the family for a while?
She's just kind of puzzled by her question for a second, but she says, no, we got rid of those a long time ago. And once the three of them were all well past that age, we didn't have much need for it anymore.
And Tessian's like, could you describe it to me? The crib, what it looked like.
And the description she gives is pretty similar to what you saw in the vision.
Okay.
It's difficult for her to describe it 100% accurately, or for you to kind of line that up with your vision since it was so...
disjointed, yeah.
But at the very least, it seems like a reasonable conclusion.
Sean, the player, has a quick interjection. Do we know about 3 of them? Is that something that has been covered and I'm just an idiot and forgot? We have Holden and Grail, and if there's a sibling
Aloysius.
Huh?
And Aloysius.
I think the only person who would have a chance of knowing is Isaac, and I don't know if Grail told him or not.